What is going on, guys? Welcome back to yet again another video. And for today, we are going to be discussing essentially interesting debate that I think is kind of, to me, highlighted but yet not really talked about too much. I'm going to start it off by asking this specific question. If I was to come up to you, right, hypothetically, if I was to come up to you and I said, who is the best team in Call of Duty esports right now? I guarantee you that whoever you said, let's just say, I was going to, pick a name out of the hat, essentially, of teams who are kind of in that contention right now for who is to be kind of considered in that role. Let's just say that you say Optic Gaming, because that's what a lot of people are going to say. Hypothetically, they're going to say Optic Gaming. Or let's say you say FaZe Clan. Let's say you say, obviously the recent winners of LNG Vegas, right? Rise Nation. Every single team that you say, also to my personal opinion, has a little bit of a downfall in some cases. I mean, they have some sort of weakness. That's the reasoning why they are not currently in that contention period. So like I said, if I was to ask you that question, I guarantee you most of you would say, if you're a passionate Call of Duty fan, you would say this team, and then after that you would give me a reason why. And the reasoning to me that's so interesting behind that is that there isn't necessarily always a reason for your reasoning. I know that doesn't make any sense, but to me, there are so many people who are asking who is the best team in the game right now that in some cases they're also wanting to put at the end of that, this is my opinion why, which goes to show that there's a number of different opportunities as to why one team might be considered better over than another, and that's why a lot of people have different opinions. It's not to be honest, like I said, let's just go back to Advanced Warfare. If we're going back to Advanced Warfare, when Optic Gaming was winning tournament after tournament after tournament, or back in Black Ops 2, whether it was Freako's time or whether it was Complexity's majority of the time, even heading into Ghost, excuse me, there was without a question. If you said Complexity, I understand. I get it. I totally get where you're coming from. Freako, I get it. I know where you're coming from, right? They just won the freaking, first official $1 million tournament that actually happened. Or like I said, if you're debating a number of different teams, there's always a reasoning behind it, but a lot of people understand because they watch the game. However, if you were to say who do you think is the best team in the game right now, there's always going to be an answer after that, or at least a comment after that, because no one truly feels 100% confident in their answer. And there's a number of different reasons why. FaZe Clan. FaZe, obviously winners of PSX, have been looking incredibly solid online heading into MLG Vegas, without question, one of the number one contenders coming into that event. Of course, you're always going to have Optic Gaming up there, like I said with the analogy I made a second ago. Just the sheer talent that's on that roster, you can never debate that they are, or at least have the capability, if they're not having top 5 placings, to have, if not top 2, if not top 1 placings at tournaments. You have Team Envious, of course, the Call of Duty XP winners. Haven't been looking that great leading up into the game early on, but definitely have kind of brought it back. You can also argue at MLG Vegas did not have practice whatsoever. That could be a reasoning why you said, well, they would have won had they practiced a lot more heading into the event. If Apathy wouldn't have got married, darn it, Brian. No, I'm joking. Of course, congratulations if Brian ends up watching this. But, there's a lot of people who are kind of arguing certain things like that. You could throw it in Cloud9. Granted, they haven't won a tournament, but they got second at MLG Vegas. You could throw them in there as well. Luminosity Gaming, very talented team online. Haven't had the best LAN placings in the world. Then you also have Rise Nation, MLG Vegas winners. I think they are definitely, to me, on contention to be awarded that number 1 spot. Granted, is it solidified? No, not at all. But to me, things have kind of shaken up. And to be honest, this idea kind of stemmed from UFC 207. For those who watched UFC 207, basically, there was a fight. Of course, as UFC, events obviously do have. And it was the main event. It took place, for those who don't know, between Amanda Nunes and Ronda Rousey. So I'm not going to go into super in-depth detail. If you're not a fan of the UFC, I apologize. I'm going to go over this very quickly, but this kind of stems to my idea of wanting to make this particular video. So Ronda Rousey was known as the best, without question, in the women's division. Insane fighter, destroyed people, women, and under a minute, like constantly, and obviously coming from like people like Joe Rogan and whatnot. I watch his podcast quite often. It was no question who is the best women's athlete or best women's fighter, not just of the period, but of all time, right? And then she obviously goes up, ends up losing her title to Holly Holm. Holly Holm loses that one to Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate loses hers to Amanda Nunes, who ends up later on beating Ronda Rousey in a dominant victory. And that's to me was what shook everything up. And to me, what kind of shakes up the Call of Duty scene. They're not comparing, Ronda Rousey necessarily Optic Gaming. I'm not comparing, Amanda Nunes, if you want to put Rise Nation up there. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I am saying, though, is that much like the UFC is experiencing currently, It's the same thing that Call of Duty is experiencing currently, is that you have a certain team who beats another team, and then that team goes up against another one, and then they lose, and then, whatever have you. Of course, this is the beginning of the game. I want to put that out there as well. This is the beginning of the game, right? Because you're not going to see every team do the best at the first event. This is exactly what we saw in Black Ops 3, and things could completely iron out the same way that they did in that last title. Because like we said, Rise Nation, what do? They win, the first event of the Black Ops 3. It's kind of like a showcase. The Totino's Invitational, right? No one was really super practiced. People were using, I want to call them payloads now, but they were using their weapon specialists and S&D, which we never saw here after, unless it was like an accident or something. And then you obviously have Unity, South Carolina. Actually, not intended, but you have Unity, South Carolina. You have some controller issues. Of course, not everyone's really adapted to the game yet necessarily. It is February, so it's a lot later, I think, is when this took place. I think it was around February. At least it was a lot later of a date than MG Vegas was. And you also see Rise Nation, when that Optic Gaming gets knocked out pretty early to a team known as H2K, and then obviously Rise Nation seems that they're really good at winning the first event, regardless of the roster who's on there. Maybe Looney's the X Factor, who knows? Which I think he actually is, to be honest. But either way, so you have a lot of different experiences that are kind of going on in the Call of Duty community right now. And granted, like I said, is it a potential that it's the beginning of the game and these things will iron out? That is absolutely an outcome. That's there right now. But I think it's really interesting. The reason why it brought me up when I was thinking about and watching the UFC fight, I think that Call of Duty right now, in its current state, is at its peak of not knowing who is the current dynasty. And if we go back to, early on stages, Black Ops 1, if not MW3, wherever you started at. It was Optic Gaming, right? Optic Gaming, whenever they went to Apex, whatever really happened in MW3, still known under the name of Optic, dominated MW3. With the JCap team back in the day, the best player in Black Ops 1, without question, dominated throughout Black Ops 1, Optic did. And then you head into Black Ops 2 later on. Obviously, I didn't really go in order there. You go to Black Ops 2, Freako has their little bit of a run. Then you have, obviously, the Complexity run, the greatest reign of all time, and whether people will debate that or not, it's totally fine with me. But the best run of all time, Cole, EG, Karma, kind of being in debate there along with Clayster, whatnot. That's a dynasty. And then over time, where there's a little bit of a gray period where teams started to go back and forth, and I'll end up winning a UMG event, things started to go back and forth and whatnot. And then we head into Advanced Warfare, right? Advanced Warfare, Optic, looks okay. They lose the Columbus Open, as they pure usually do. The first event of a title. It's happened a few times, obviously. And then you obviously see that roster kind of come into shape because everyone knew in the back of their minds, they're saying, this Optic Gaming team is only getting stronger. It's only getting stronger. And granted, there was a lot of question coming about this team, but everyone in the back of their mind said they had the talent to beat everyone in a dominant way. And that's obviously when they would start to go on the run. Granted, they wouldn't win every single tournament. They would lose ones here and there. We saw a little bit of phases is run toward the end of it. Then obviously we'd see Optic Gaming, when I think UMG DC, then MLG World Finals as well, so that they kind of ended out their peak, which was still under the name of the Optic Gaming Dynasty. Granted, there were teams who would challenge that, right? There were teams who would even challenge Complexity at times. Granted, Complexity would win most of those, or EG rather. Which one you're kind of comparing to. But there was always, Call of Duty has always had, a set dynasty. Who's the best team in the game right now? Oh, that's right. Even though they haven't won the last tournament, that's still under the name of the dynasty. And I'm not sure right now, this is just my opinion, I'm not sure right now if we are still under that reign of Optic Gaming. And I'm putting that into question. I really am. I'm putting that into question as to, are they going to continue their run and pass for Black Ops 3 and even later and Advanced Warfare? Because to be honest, I think right now, like I said, Call of Duty is a very interesting state because we have a previous dynasty, in my opinion. A previous dynasty, is it going to continue? Is the major question. Is it going to continue? Is Optic Gaming going to rise back up yet again? And granted, based on their track record, it has. However, to me, we're in a different state right now. You have a dominant team coming from Black Ops 3 and Team Envious. Incredible squad, right? And you also had to put in the question as well, they didn't have practice. So that team, to be honest, can only go up from here, I would imagine. Unless practice for them just doesn't work, but I don't think that's the case. You have teams like C9. You have European teams who are also kind of challenging the number one spot. You have teams like Orbit, Elevate, Splice, number of different rosters that can, to be honest, to me, easily be put into that top 5, top 10 status. I know I kind of went out of order. Top 10, top 5 status whenever they're on their heyday. Of course, like I said, you can never take away from Europe's placing at champs in Black Ops 3. Envy, granted they had their way with Splice. It was a close game one, but they ended up kind of running through them afterwards. It was close. But you can never take that away from them. They are always going to be there to challenge you. If you ever have any doubt about North American squads or anything like that, always know that the EU is right there. Like I said, it's the first event. It was the first event in MLG Vegas, but you can't not take some things away. Like I said, teams like Cloud9, teams like Allegiance, getting top 5 was Allegiance. Enigma 6, I didn't even talk about Enigma 6. They beat Optic Gaming. They beat Rise Nation. They beat the team who won the tournament. Enigma 6, an open bracket team who hasn't competed since Advanced Warfare. This was General's first major tournament since MLG World Finals back at Advanced Warfare. And the man comes and destroys some of the top teams. Granted, he doesn't have, the overall best placing. When it comes down to it, you look at it and you say, well, that's respectable placing. But he beat the team that won the entire tournament. He beat Optic Gaming once. Like that, had some talented guys on that team without question. Will that reign continue? Is the question to be asking. And I said, I feel like after this video is over, there's going to be a lot more questions than answers. But we're in an interesting state right now. And I think we're in a different state than we have been after the first event of AW, after the first event of Black Ops 3. I think we are more closely contested than ever before. I think teams are a lot more developed than they have been. I think the top teams of the top 5 has never been closer. Who do you have in that top 5? That's the interesting part, because everyone has different players, different teams they think could be in that top 5, and they all have respectable reasons to be there. There were times in Ghosts where this team would be that team, this team would be that team, and it was all because of complexity. Complexity was always at the top. Complexity was always there. EG was always there at the top, and everyone was just trying to contest with them. That's why you would see, this team beat that team, because they were always making roster changes, and teams really weren't developing so much because they were all just beating one another. But this is different. To be honest, this to me is different. These teams have been sticking together for a while. FaZe hasn't made a roster change, I think, since June 15th, 2015. I don't know how I know that date exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's correct, because I looked at my document not too long ago. Since June 15th, 2015, is now 2017, literally the first day, but hey, it still counts. They haven't made a roster change in that long. Optic Gaming hasn't made a roster change, I think, since, what was it, like April, I think, or something along those lines. So they haven't made a roster change in that long either. You have some of these teams who have been sticking together. If Envy, who won a championship together, is sticking together through the next title. Now, how many teams can say that they've done that? They've won the championship and then made it to the next title. Granted, this is one of the first years that we've had the championship at the end, but if you look at tournament placings and whatnot, Freak or Impact, one of the first tournaments after, they end up breaking apart. Complexity/EG, they end up winning, but over time, the roster starts to kind of iron out. They end up making changes because they're due to internal issues. And then you also look at Denial. They don't even make it through the end of the title. That's when we said Clayster and Attach end up going over to FaZe. That's when they start to dominate. It's when they start to kind of contest the side of Optic Gaming. Not many teams stick together after Champs has taken place, and I really respect the fact that Envious has kind of remained in that place, for now. So like I said, I know I've kind of branched all over the place. I know I've kind of talked about a number of different things, but to be honest, I think that as it stands for right now, Call of Duty has never been more open to a team to rise up, which is why I think that, no pun intended for rise up there, but this is why I think that scrimming right now is incredibly important, especially for Atlanta. The online scrims, I think, as far as pro points, and there's a lot of teams kind of considering for that top spot. I believe as of the first, Envious is in 11th. They're right behind Echofox. They're not in technically pools yet. You have to be in the top 10 to be, I think for MLG Atlanta pool play, you have to be in the top 10 for pro points. So they're not even in that yet. And I was already talking about how talented Team Envious looks. Granted, it's online, but there are a number of different teams. If you look at every single team right now who is in, high contention, there are so many squads who I think can face off. So it's like, number 5 can take on number 13, and I think number 13 can beat number 5, or vice versa. Number 2 can beat, whoever. So as I said, I think it's very interesting. I think Call of Duty is in a state that it hasn't been for a very long time. And like I said, I think grinding right now is very, very important, because I think it's more important than people realize, because to me, in my opinion, potential dynasties are being formed that we don't even know of yet. Like potential duo ships that we're seeing kind of rise up. Not many people realize yet. I think one particular duo that I want to highlight really quickly before I close this video out is both Lacefield and Aches. And I hope that they stick together. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I love the duo ship of not just Aches and Assault, or Aches and Ricky, but I don't know what it is. I just have a feeling about Lacefield and Aches together. To me, granted, Lacefield can obviously have a high emotional state at some points, and, coming into MLG Vegas, I was like, I don't think these guys are going to last very long, just because of the, high emotional status that a player like Lacefield presents. And if he's not going off for the team, I don't think that they can do as well as they hope. Lacefield kind of keeps his head on straight. They end up going to constant Game 5. I think every series they went to was a Game 5, even the finals, the first best of 5. That goes to Game 5. They end up losing that one. But they end up going to Game 5 almost every time and winning it. And I didn't really credit them enough for that, I don't think. And I don't know what it is. I just really like that combination. There's a number of different combinations that I can name off of players who I think work really well together. I'm sure you guys can even name a few in your mind as well. But I think right now, the grinding as it goes on, we can potentially see roster moves go down, and hopefully that duo ships decide to stick together. That can make a new dynasty happen. Maybe some of those dynasties are already starting to be formed. Maybe those duo ships are already on established rosters right now that we could see rise up through the rest of Infinite Warfare. We'll obviously see how that does take place. But I kind of want to rise up that discussion. I keep saying rise up. I want to kind of bring up that discussion and kind of put it in everyone's minds, because I think it's, to me, a very interesting state that we're in. I haven't seen it kind of like this ever, really, I think, to be fair, unless it's like the early stages of, Black Ops 2 or whatever you want to kind of bring up. So, yeah, feel free to put your guys' thoughts, down in the comments below. If you can, I wouldn't really recommend putting your top team down in the description or the comments below, if you guys, unless you guys really want to kind of discuss that. I know it's kind of like a hot topic right now of people saying who's the best team in the game, who do you think is the best team in the game, let's rate, let's say our top 5, whatever. Just make sure you kind of keep it calm down in the comments below. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to obviously leave a like and make sure to subscribe for future content. I really appreciate the support, guys. More interesting videos to come soon. It's not just going to be roster videos. It's not going to just be, things here and there. I'm looking to try and do interviews, looking to try to bring up interesting little factoids, little video ideas that I haven't seen anyone kind of bring up. And yeah, so I'm just going to kind of try to do a little bit of content here and there when things start to get stale when it comes down to it. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Like I said, feel free to obviously click all the links down in the description, and I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic day. Until next time, peace out.